What's up, friends? Welcome back to Plan Space. I'm your host, Ramon Garcia, and today's episode is about the power of planning. We are coming to the end of the year, about to start 2025, so I feel that it's important to talk about this. Planning. Why is it so important? Planning is the foundation to success. It ultimately is going to get you to where you need to get. So let's just dive right in. Let's talk about it. Planning is important because it's what's going to take your vague dreams into actionable steps. If you just have a vague understanding of how you want to get to where you want to get, you're really not going to get there as fast as you want to get. If you take the time to plan it out, fitness, personal development, career, eating, grooming, really any aspect of your life, if you plan it out, it makes it so much more easy and it allows you to really develop and grow in that category. If I'm constantly just winging my skincare routine, there is a recommendation, certain things you should do certain times a week. And if you're just feeling it out, are you actually doing things the right way? Or can you simply plan out some sort of schedule to help you maximize the benefits of whatever it is that you're doing? The older I get, the more that I realize it's very wasteful to partake in something and not reap the full benefits. If you are going to spend $60 on a skincare and you're just doing it every now and then and you're not really committed to it and doing it the way that it should be done, why would you waste the money in the first place? Just to get some effects? Why would you not want to maximize that effect? You have to go grocery shopping. Do you want to waste that much time every single week grocery shopping, or should you plan things out? Should you pick up, order in advance, etc.? That's just one example of the many ways that you can plan a better way to do something. Planning really helps you prioritize and manage your time effectively. It starts to chip away the things that don't really matter, the things that aren't going to serve you, and it helps you really narrow in what it is that is important to you and what it is that you want to do and what distracts you. Because as you reflect on the day, did you play video games for too long? Were you on your phone for too long? What were the things that occupied most of your time, and were you content with that? Is that something that you want to repeat tomorrow, or should we maybe try not to repeat that again? But it all comes with planning, because if you're not taking the time to reflect and plan in advance, then how are you growing past these things that are hindering you? You're probably not. Whenever you don't really have a clear plan and you're just going about things in a way, it can get incredibly overwhelming and rather confusing, because life is difficult. It throws the most random punches at you, and if you aren't already at some sort of a clear mindset, then odds are you're gonna get derailed really quickly. And I don't want that. I don't want to have to move back home. I don't want to need that support. If I can support myself, if I can continue to fund to live on my own, which I've done for so long, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna allow poor planning to have me trace back steps. I haven't always been a planner. I think I've always been the kind of person that waited the last second to do things. I very much lived off of winging things. I don't regret it, because I always had the mindset that it's best to just do things last minute or on the spot, so that in the future, whenever you're placed in situations that are uncomfortable, you've already practiced this enough that it's not that difficult. And honestly, it was a great decision, because now I can confidently just wing things. It might not be the best, but it's definitely not awful. You can throw me in front of a crowd and ask me to do a speech. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to figure out what to say. Will it be the best thing you've ever heard? I don't know. Is it going to be the craziest thing you've ever heard? I hope not. I mean, I never know, but I'm not unconfident. I'm going to go and do it. But that doesn't work forever. There does come a point where just winging it isn't effective. You have to plan something out. When COVID happened, that was the first time that I really had some sort of a wake up call. I've been very fortunate to work in the arts, in jobs that I enjoy. So when COVID happened and everything shut down, it really made it clear that I had to plan. I had to make sure I was doing things correctly. I wasn't just blindly running forward. I was doing things in a way that made sense. That wasn't good enough though, because I later went on into having a situation when I was no longer dating a person that I was with, but it was a whole situation that kind of forced me to move. I obviously couldn't plan for that, but I could have planned to have some sort of a savings, to have some sort of emergency money. I definitely just didn't plan for life obstacles. I mean, what if my partner would have died? You know, like anything could have happened, and I wasn't planned for that. So, and I wasn't even a child anymore. At that point, I'm 23, 24. I'm not like I'm still young, but I'm not a child. So having to move away and having to just reset my life because of poor planning was tough. It was very tough. And then my student loans got off paused because of COVID being over. So pairing that all happening relatively at the same time, it was just a lot of obstacles that felt like were a result of poor planning. So now as an adult, I plan everything. I don't do anything just on a whim. I mean, I'm still spontaneous and go about and like live my life in ways, but I try my best not to just wake up and go. I try to always plan, what are my goals this week? What do I want to get done? What am I getting done this month? What am I trying to get done next month? Like, what are things that I'm trying to get done so that I'm not just stagnant. I'm moving in some sort of a direction. But it's also important to just do things, because there does come a point where you can't just plan all these things out. You have to do them. I find myself falling into that habit a lot, where I plan this whole long, juicy plan that never happens, but I spent hours making this plan that never happened. And I don't regret a lot of it because I learned and I tried different things, but ultimately try it. Like, what if plan B was effective, but I never tried it fully, so I never got to actually see what it was going to do to me? You have to commit, you have to dedicate yourself, and you have to really do it, because you really don't know unless you commit and really stick to the plan. I gathered some benefits of planning to try to convince you and trying to reel you into the world of planning. I think this is a pretty good reason, so let's just go. Reduce stress. It significantly reduces your stress. In the beginning, it is a little overwhelming, but once you kind of get the pieces connected, you are significantly less stressed. I can't remember when was the last time I stressed out or asked myself really anything. I have everything written down in a bullet journal, which we'll get to later in this episode, but everything is planned out, so I really don't stress a lot. Well, I do, but not about those things. It allows you to be better focused. If you plan things out and you know what you're doing and you know what certain time is set for and you commit to it, you really can focus and get that done, especially because as you think to yourself, well, what about whatever? You've already planned time for that thought to happen, so push it to the side and keep it pushing. Stay focused. Increases productivity. If you are not planning things and you're just on a whim, maybe that works for you and you're just banging things out left and right and you're creating all these awesome things. But for me personally, it doesn't really work. I end up starting projects that I don't see through, or it never really comes to life. I don't feel like that makes any sense. Why even bother if you're not going to see it through? Or make something but don't have the intention of bringing this whole thing to life. Like, don't waste your time on that aspect if you're not going to commit. We're coming to the end of this episode, so let me just give you a few hints on how you should plan / tools that you can use to plan yourself / learn to be a little more productive. Number 1, get a bullet journal. I love bullet journals. It really, I mean, if planners and all that stuff work for you, great. Get a tool, get something of that sorts for sure. But a bullet journal just works so well for me because you can really personalize it and space it out however you want. Sometimes I'll have like 3 different little versions of calendars all in one spread because it helps me for whatever it is that I'm doing. But bullet journal, planner, calendar, put it on your wall. I have calendars everywhere. I have planners everywhere. Not full planners, but there's like a date on this side. I have a whole calendar in my room. I have one in my journal. I have one on my Alexa. I think right now I can see like 2 calendars at once. And it might be a little excessive, but it just helps me. It really just helps me. I don't have to like look around and do the most. Like, as I'm working, wherever it is that I'm facing, I just look up and there it is. The information is in front of me. Boom, write it down. But I planned for that. See? Planning. Define your goal. Figure out what it is that you want and plan towards it. Define your goal. That's step one. You have to figure that out. Break it down. That's your goal. Realistically, how are you going to get there? I want to be on Broadway. Great. Realistically, how are we going to get there? Break it down and make it smaller and smaller and smaller. I want to be on Broadway. Great. I need to move to New York. Awesome. I need to save money. I need to train. You see how things just start? You just back it up. Back it up until you reach where you currently are and then push it forward. It really is that easy. Anticipate challenge. Do not expect things to be easy. Planning is just a tool to help you not be overwhelmed when shit hits the fan. Anticipate challenge. That's something that I did a really bad job at. I would constantly just, for whatever reason, believe that this time things were going to magically happen and it wasn't going to be difficult. That's never been the case. It's always been difficult. Something always happens. Anticipate challenge. And the last, but certainly not least, review regularly. You don't want to just do things and go forward with it. Take a look at your work. Take a look at your actions. What are you doing? What are you failing at? What are you distracting yourself with? Like, judge yourself, write it down. You don't have to go share it with the world, but I like to keep a journal. I will full on make entries where I'm like essentially judging myself. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What can I do better? Etc, etc, etc. I'm sure you can find things. I promise you can find things. And if you can't find something, give it to someone. I'm sure someone else can find things. That's pretty much it, you guys. That's the end of this episode. There's really nothing much to talk about. I mean, there's a few misconceptions that come with planning, like it takes too much time. I don't have to do it. I'm special. I don't really feel like it's necessary to harp on those excuses. To each their own. This episode is about you planning. If you don't want to plan, do it yourself. That's fine. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. I'll see you next time.